Before we talk about what Taliban has become, we must talk about what it really means. My Jambarr out there is Mahmoud here. Welcome to the Talibé Series. If this is your first time, welcome. If you have been with us for a while, great. We appreciate you and we want you to stay. If you subscribe, awesome. Thank you so much. If you didn't subscribe, please do so to help the channel visibility and also to get notification whenever we upload a new video. Today, we are talking about episode 1 of the Talibé series. What it means to be a Talibé. I remember when I was a kid at the village. We, as the young kids, we always, hang out as a group. We play and we have all our, other fellow kids from different compounds come and we have a big giant groups and we play, we run. So one day, a colleague of ours came to the group with another guy and we were curious because that kid was new. We didn't know who he was. We asked him, "Hey, do you guys have a visitor today?" He said, "No, you know, he is a new Taliban." And that was the first time the word Taliban rang in my mind. That was the first time I hear that people who were at the village, some of them were Talibans. But after few reflection, and when I look around me, I saw so many Talibans because most of those kids had no relative. They had some connection. For example, the parents had connection with the other elders at the village. So that's how they were brought to the village. They become Talibans. They were brought to the village to learn the game of life, to master how to live, to master the art of discipline, the value of hard work, and the essence of generosity. And at the time, that's what we thought was what Taliban is. But since then, the word Taliban has become problematic. Whenever people hear Taliban, they feel anguish inside them. They feel sympathy, they feel discomfort because what happened to certain Talibis. Because some of the ustads, some of the guardians use their Talibis for other purposes instead of the intended purpose of what Talibé really mean, because Talibé is a Arabic word means student, a seeker of knowledge, a seeker of wisdom, and a seeker of character. That's the definition of the word Talibé. But over the years, that definition, was hijacked by greed, by poverty, and with that, those ustads and those guardians use, those talibis as, as a money-making machine or food production machine. So they send those kids to the street to beg, and other kids spend most of their time at the farm instead of learning the Quran or learning the basic need they need in order to um, have a great life. And because of that, many people believe now all of the Taliban is fake. And with that, so many Western influences came to West Africa and they portray being a Taliban as being a beggar. So that's mean people send their kids to the doctors to beg or to live in a very harsh condition. So there's some truth to it. Being a Talibé is hard, but as a real nature of life, hardship is important in order to help you grow to become the person you want to be. But not to the extent of sending those kids on the street to beg or putting those kids in a very harsh condition. No humans deserve to live in those kind of conditions. And that's the backlash. That's why, the word Talibe, is being politicized and being scrutinized. But I have seen authorities stepping up to take their responsibility to make sure all of the Ustaz retirees and boarding schools, make sure they put those kids in a better living condition. Make sure none of those kids are, going on the street to beg. And that has been improving, but it's a constant work in progress. So that's wasn't the purpose of being a Talibé, because as a kid growing up at the village, I was surrounded by a lot of Talibés, and we learned a lot of skills. For example, the art of discipline, which really helped me in the state here. Knowing how to move yourself in every situation, knowing how to deal with your environment is a very, very important skills. And also mastering the value of hard work and the essence of generosity. And learning how to survive the game of life in general. Those were the purpose of being a Taliban, not as it's been portrayed as beggars on the street. So my Jambarr out there, the purpose of this series is to clear the air what it means to be a Talibé and to bring a new perspective in terms of shifting our life, shifting in our mind, how we think about Talibé, because we all need to be a Talibé of life every day, because the world is constantly changing. Things are moving fast. In order to adapt, in order to evolve, you need to be a Talibé of life. That's the perspective I want to bring in this series. Because I fundamentally believe if you are learning every day, you are reflecting and growing. That's what Talibé mean. It doesn't matter whether you are at the daughters or you are at the village or you are in Africa or other part of the world, you are a Talibé. Because Talibé is not where you live, it's how you choose to live. So that's why, in order to have a great life at this moment, at this challenges time, you need to be a Talibé of life. And that's the perspective I want to bring to these episodes. So, if there anything that is missing here, it's not is Talibé is not portrayed as beggars. These are kids that are sent to different parts of the world to master the game of life. At the end of the day, most of these kids come out of that to become great men, great families members, and great parents. So at the end of the day, most of the kids have no regrets why they were sent, to become Talibés, and those parents are proud of what they did because they have seen, how that impact that kid's life. So at the end of the day, as a parent, that's what you need to do to put your kids in an environment where you believe they will succeed. So my jam out there, Talibe is a student of life and knowledge seeker, um, a seeker of wisdom, and a seeker of character, not a beggar. So, at the end of the day, it's not about where you live, but how you choose to live. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and let's look forward to episode 2. Thank you.